So, are you ready to launch your dream business? Finally start that entrepreneur's quest you've been daydreaming about? It's super exciting, right? But hold on just a second. Let me hit you with a quick reality check here. How do you actually know what people want? You really can't just guess your way to success without risking a totally massive crash. You absolutely need a strategy.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are going to completely conquer Unit 1.2 of your Edexcel GCSE Business syllabus, Spotting a Business Opportunity. Basically, think of this as your ultimate survival guide for both the business world and, of course, your exams. So here is the roadmap for our interactive quest today. First, understanding customer needs. Second, market research as your GPS. Third, primary versus secondary data. Fourth, qualitative and quantitative research. And finally, number 5, facing the competitive environment. This checklist is going to give you the exact tools you need to spot a viable opportunity.
All right, let's kick things off. Section 1, Understanding Customer Needs.
Here's the absolute truth, guys. Without customers, there is literally no business. They are the whole point of this entire journey. So what exactly are customer needs? Well, by definition, they're the essential requirements that a business must provide to successfully sell a product or service. But we've got to make a really vital distinction here between a need and a want. Needs are completely essential for survival, right? Like shelter or basic food. Wants, on the other hand, are non-essential desires. Like you need shoes to protect your feet, but you want a brand new pair of Nike trainers. Businesses really thrive when they figure out how to satisfy both.
Now, what's really interesting here is that there are 4 core pillars of customer needs: price, quality, choice, and convenience. If you can understand these, you essentially unlock business success. Customers want the best value price, which lets you offer competitive promotions. They expect reliable quality because that's what builds incredible brand loyalty. They absolutely crave choice, meaning if you offer variety, they're way more likely to find exactly what they want and leave satisfied. And convenience? Well, in today's world of fast delivery and super easy apps, making the buying process effortless is what leads to repeat sales. Meet these 4 needs and you're golden.
Once you've got a handle on those needs, you start looking for a market gap. This is essentially a hole in the market where customer demand just isn't being met. Imagine a really busy town that has, say, 5 pizza places, but absolutely 0 burger joints. That missing burger joint? That is your gap. But hey, here is a crucial examiner tip straight from the syllabus. Do not assume that simply finding a gap automatically guarantees success. You still have to actually prove people want those burgers.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, Market Research as your GPS. So how do we prove people actually want those burgers? We use market research. Like the quote says, market research stops a business from flying blind. I really want you to remember that one. Launching a business without market research is honestly like trying to navigate a cross-country road trip while wearing a blindfold. You're just guessing, and you're risking a massive, expensive crash. Market research is literally the GPS that guides your decisions.
There are 4 main purposes to doing this research. First, to identify and understand what customers actually need. Second, to spot those potential gaps in the market we just talked about. Third, to drastically reduce your risk when launching a new product. And fourth, to inform your day-to-day business decisions. Research is exactly what tells an entrepreneur whether to paint their shop blue or green, or if they should price a product at £5 or £10. It takes all that guesswork right out of the equation.
All right, moving right along. Section 3, Primary vs. Secondary Data.
Now that we know we absolutely need research, how do we actually get it? Well, we have 2 primary weapons at our disposal. Now, a super common student myth is that primary research is always better than secondary, but honestly, that's just not true. Primary research, or field research, is gathering brand new first-hand data. Think surveys or focus groups. It's awesome because it's super specific to your business and completely hidden from your competitors. But on the flip side, it's expensive and takes a ton of time. Then you have secondary research, also known as desk research. This uses existing data like internet articles or government reports. The real beauty of secondary research is that it's incredibly fast and often completely free, even though it might occasionally be slightly out of date. Smart businesses, they don't just pick one. They use a solid mix of both.
And speaking of fast and free, we absolutely cannot ignore social media's market research superpowers. For today's entrepreneurs, platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and X have completely revolutionized data collection. I mean, you get instantaneous speed to see exactly what's trending in real time.
It's incredibly low cost. Running an online poll is basically free. It allows for highly interactive customer relationships where you can build real brand loyalty. And it gives you incredibly rapid feedback if you ever need to make quick product changes. Honestly, it is a goldmine for an observance entrepreneur.
Okay, up next, Section 4, Qualitative and Quantitative Research.
Once we've actually gathered our data using primary and secondary methods, we need to understand exactly what type of story that data is telling us. Data generally falls into two buckets. First, quantitative data. This is all about the numbers. It's based on quantities, facts, and statistics. It basically tells you what is happening. For example, 75% of people liked our new blue packaging. That's a solid stat you can slap right on a graph. Qualitative data, however, is all about the opinions. It's based on feelings, descriptions, and discussions. It tells you why something is happening. For instance, I liked the blue packaging because it reminds me of the ocean and feels calming. See the difference? You absolutely need the quantitative numbers to see the big picture, but you really need those qualitative opinions to understand the actual emotions driving the purchase.
But listen up, here is a massive warning and a quick exam hack for you while we're at it. Beware of unreliable data. Just asking 3 of your best friends a highly guided question does not count as reliable market research. If your sample size is too small, if your questions are heavily biased, or if you're relying on numbers from 10 years ago, you're going to draw the completely wrong conclusions, and that can ruin your entire business strategy. Trust me, bad data is way worse than having no data at all.
All right, on to our final stretch, Section 5, Facing the Competitive Environment.
Okay, so we've done our research, we've found our gap, and we know exactly what customers want. Now it's time for the final boss battle of our quest, dealing with the rivals who want the exact same customers that you do. Competition generally comes in 2 forms. Direct competition is when a rival targets customers with exactly the same product as you, like 2 different coffee shops on the exact same street. Indirect competition is a little trickier. It's when firms sell different products but compete for the exact same disposable income. For example, a local cinema and a theater are indirect competitors. While competition is absolutely fantastic for customers because, it leads to lower prices and better quality, it makes life incredibly tough for a business.
So, the crucial point here is how you assess those rivals. Entrepreneurs use a matrix to map out their competitors' strengths and weaknesses across factors like price, quality, location, product range, and customer service. So, if a competitor's biggest strength is their incredibly low prices, well, their weakness might be that customers doubt their quality. If their strength is a prime location, their weakness might be a heavy over-reliance on just foot traffic. By mapping all of this out, a smart business finds the exact angle they need to gain a real competitive advantage. Ultimately, competition forces pretty much every single day-to-day decision a business makes. It impacts pricing, like do you try to undercut rivals and risk a massive price war? It impacts your product, forcing you to innovate way faster just to stay ahead. It changes your marketing, pushing you to figure out how to advertise differently so your message actually stands out. And it even impacts operations, making you constantly ask, hey, can we produce this more efficiently to save costs? You simply don't operate in a vacuum. You are operating in a highly dynamic, competitive arena. Let's wrap this all up with one of my absolute favorite real-world examples. When the founders of Innocent Smoothies were trying to decide whether to actually quit their jobs and launch their business, they didn't go out and spend thousands on complex research. Nope. They literally just bought some fruit, made a bunch of smoothies, and set up a tiny stall at a music festival. They put up a huge sign asking, should we give up our jobs to make these smoothies? And placed 2 big bins right in front of the stall. One bin said yes, the other said no. Customers voted simply by throwing their empty cups into a bin. By the end of that weekend, the yes bin was completely overflowing. I mean, that is just brilliant, cheap, and highly effective primary market research right in action. So as you master Unit 1.2 and look out at the world of business, how will you creatively test your next big idea? Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.